Good evening, folks. I'm just goofing around with GIMP tonight. I need a City Hero splash screen. Okay. So right now I'm just cropping out all the elements that I want to use. Close. When you do stuff like this, you notice all the odd design choices they make. I'm not doing too tight. I can always go back in with the eraser tool. It's always nice to leave a little overhang in case you need to do some blending or whatever. Can always be gotten rid of later. I think the heels are an unfortunate design choice, but that's the only kind of boots they had with a folded top. I think there was one other one, but they looked really dorky. Oops. If you want to get really anal about it, you go in and manipulate the individual nodes and get them as tight as possible so you don't have as much cleanup to do afterwards, but it takes just as much time to do that as it does do cleanup. And it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So I don't even know if I have this character anymore. Just little screen grabs that I've taken during my playtime. Playing a lot of Overwatch lately, and that bothers me. Just quick plays, nothing serious. All right. We switch tools, Control C, bring it over here. Paste as new layer. And then if we want to, this is where we can go in and clean it up. And we will. I was pretty sloppy with it. But that's easy. Oh, must be a spot on my screen. I want to leave a little bit on here because it's white on white. Although I guess if I change the background to a different color. So I'm going to make a transparency out of it. Let's see. 4:3. Got a little close. Doesn't have to be super clean. It's just for a splash screen. I just need an image. Doing this for a bunch of different character captures I have done. Probably 1,000,001 easier ways to do what I'm doing, but I find it to be therapeutic. A lot of crazy stuff going on out there, and sometimes you just have to step away and play with pictures. So before I go any further, let me go ahead and do the transparency now. That'll just make a cleanup easier. Worked pretty good. You always have to go back in after you do this with the eraser tool to clean it up. But this saves you a little time. Let's see. Don't want that. Oh. Alright. What the hell's going on? Alright, what the hell did I do? Okay, that's right. You gotta deselect. You don't really see it too much when it's sitting on the transparent background, but as soon as you paste it onto an image, all those little white lines there show up like crazy. So you just kind of minimize it. Not the most exciting thing in the world to watch, but this is what I was doing tonight, so I figured I might as well just stream it. My problem is I get lost when I'm doing it, and I just keep getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I have to remember not to do that. Over here is where we use the magic wand tool, and it misses a lot in those tight areas. It's hard for it to do small areas, but it does speed up the erasing process. kind of mixed minds about the cell shading option that was available when we were still on the I-25 patch. When they went to I-24, that was taken away. It was kind of cool. I mean, it wasn't true to City Heroes graphics, but it was very comic booky, especially if you got it tweaked up just right. Some of the screen caps I have are for when I was playing on with the cell shading on a different server. I think that was a test server. This is the monotonous part of it. I like it, but you know, a lot of people don't. The cleanup. And again, it's probably not even necessary, but I like doing it. I think that's about it. You can still kind of see it a bit, but you can always blend it in once we transfer it over. Okay, now we're going to export this. And there we go. Alright, that one's done. Oh, that's going to be a fun one. Alright, I want to make sure I get this one. This is cell shaded. I have a different iteration of this character. Rerolled him like 6 times. Same costume, different powers. Let's see what this can do for us. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much faster than just outlining the whole damn thing. But I tell you what we can do. Oh. There we go. I should probably just start over on this one. I'm working on a splash screen for the City Hero streams, and I'm just cropping out some different elements and whatnot. Nothing super exciting. I was doing it tonight, so I figured I'd just stream it, just in case anybody popped by and wanted to chat. Ooh. I don't do a lot of this, so I'm just using GIMP. Don't do it often enough to justify the expense of Photoshop, and oh, I wish it didn't have that glow. That kind of sucks. Yeah, maybe we can leave it in there. Oh, yeah. Right now, this is just the dirty work. It's getting images ready to be assembled onto a splash screen. So this is the grunt work. The prep work. All I'm doing now is just erasing around it so that I can delete the rest of the background. Kind of burned out on the gaming thing right now, so I wanted to do something other. Yeah, yeah. There's a couple different ways you can do it. The last one I did a wireframe around it and then copied it out. This way I'm doing it just using the eraser tool to make a border around it, and then get rid of everything in the background. I don't know why. One way works just as well as the other. Some City of Heroes servers came up. Code got released and people started throwing up their servers. So there's been a lot of that going on lately. And that's what this is for. I've been streaming a lot of it. So we take our magic wand, pick the white area, and oh man. Alright, we're going to do it the other way. File, open. That way didn't work. Yeah, now I'd have to go back in and just erase everything. I could do that, I guess. Yeah, why not? It didn't do what I wanted it to do. So we just ratchet up the tool size. And just wipe it out. Again, other ways to do it, some are faster. And then we're going to make a transparency of this. We're going to take this white background and make it transparent, so that it can be laid over yeah, it's good game. Good game. Good game. And there's several different flavors of servers available now too, so something for everybody. And it did come back at a good time. The MMO scene is kind of lame right now. There's just not a lot out there. But it is kind of a dying thing. People don't want to spend all that time playing a game anymore. They want to get in, get the rounds in, get out. You know, instant gratification kind of thing. I had nothing against Warhammer. It just didn't hold my interest long enough. That's all. Because there wasn't enough new to it, I guess. Nothing against the game. It's a fine game. Just didn't hold my interest that long. I'm in a weird gaming spot right now. Nothing is fun right now. I guess I'm just waiting for Cyberpunk 2077 to come out. Nothing against the game. I got some enjoyment out of it, and then I just kind of lost interest. It's one of those. I've been hitting a lot of games lately where they're fun while you're playing them, but the second you stop playing them, you know, the second you take like a day or two off, you just don't want to go back. And just been hitting that a lot lately. ESO, prime example. I was having a blast playing that game, and then I stopped playing it for a couple days. And I just never felt like turning it back on again. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. She already said I could pre-order it, so yep, definitely getting it. Might even buy 2 just out of spite. Them fuckers. They always gotta start their shit. I might just crop that crown off there. Well, they had to release it in 2020. And I'm glad they're taking the extra time with it. I'm glad they're making sure that it's when it goes live, it's ready. You know, how many games have come out lately that just weren't ready for launch even remotely? Fallout 76 is still a buggy mess. And what is that? 7 months? It's been out for 7 months. So I would rather they take the time to get it right. And it had to be released in 2020. It had to. There was no way around that because Cyberpunk 2020 is what it's based on. So that was almost essential from the get-go. You know, once they realized how long it was going to take them to make it. Oh, shit. There we go. Now it's transparency. And then we'll export it. PNG export. And then we'll go on to the next one. I don't even know if I'm going to like the game, to tell you the truth. Cyberpunk. At this point, I'm getting it just to be a dick. Because all the shit that people are starting for no reason whatsoever. Oh yeah, I gotta include this one. Speaking of which, I'm just going to wireframe this one. Not wireframe, but wish I could make this bigger. All right. Why can't they just let us have nice things? Why do they gotta start their crap all the time? Well, I can go all the way up. Boom. This one's kind of blocky. I'm interested in seeing how it does, but I'm not interested in playing it. I've done enough WoW Classic now on private servers, to satisfy any urge I may ever have of playing Classic. I don't like Classic versions of the games. I'm the odd man out. I like the way games evolve. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always neat to see the process. And right up until Cataclysm, I really enjoyed the way WoW was evolving. Then once Cataclysm hit, I kind of just lost interest in it. I was one of the few that waited to hop onto WoW. I was playing other games at the time. I think actually City Heroes was one of the games I was playing at the time, and I was having a lot of fun with it. And there were a few other games I was playing. I don't remember what. So I didn't get into WoW until BC came out. I was determined not to play it, and I held out for one whole expansion before I finally just sucked it up and started playing. And I had fun with it. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun right up through BC and Wrath of the Lich King, and Cataclysm came out, and I was just, nope, I'm done. Played for about a month into Cataclysm, and that was it. I was done. Some games turn out better. I think City of Heroes benefited a lot from the release of City of Villains and Going Rogue. Doesn't always work. I think the biggest problem they make is listening to the fans when they start making changes to the game. Because fans never know what they want. They know what they want today. Right now I just had a bad round of, Battlegrounds, for example, and I want my character to be a little this, or I don't think it's right that this character can do this, or whatever, And then tomorrow it could be perfectly normal, or a completely different viewpoint. So I think the worst thing developers can do is listen to their audience. At least listen to them too closely. Carefully analyze everything they say and look at the reasons for it. We've all been there. We've all complained about this character being more powerful than that character or whatever. It's nature of the beast. Well, Asheron's Call was horrible about class balance. It didn't have classes so much. It was entirely skill-based, but basically, if you weren't playing a mage, there was no reason to try that hard. Other classes could do, or skills could do things. Like warriors and archers and whatnot. They could do things, but nobody could do it as well as a mage, except in certain circumstances where the bad guys you're fighting are magic resistant or whatever. But those are few and far between. EverQuest doesn't even understand the concept of class balance. Because in that game, every class has a role. And it's the same with this, too. It would be impossible to achieve class balance with City Heroes. Because, a defender's just never going to do as much damage as a blaster. It's not their job. I guess a lot of games are like that, though. I get too fiddly. That's why I can never do this professionally, because it would take me forever to get anything done. Because I fiddle too much. But that's how I learn. I've never had any training on this kind of stuff, so I just fiddle until I figure out the best way to do a thing. Christ, by the time I graduated, well, this stuff was just becoming available when I graduated college. And that wasn't irritating. No interest in ashes. I did some very early alpha testing of ashes, and now granted it was very early, but I could see the way the waves were going, and it just didn't do anything for me. There was nothing new about it, nothing different about it, nothing that made it stand out. What's Pantheon, I guess, is the other one, and they keep going on about how it's. I'm going to sound cynical here, and that's just. I think that's just my age talking, but they keep saying how much it resembles EverQuest. Well, then why don't I just play EverQuest? Yeah, it switched. They completely switched gears with what they were doing with Ashes of Creation. It was supposed to be this grand world-building MMO, and then it just turned into a battle royale game, purely focused on PvP and nothing else, really. But that's where the market's going. Everybody wants PvP. Everybody wants quick gameplay, and that's what they're going to cater to. And you can't blame them. I mean, they got to make a living. The developers, I mean. What the hell's going on there? It's just a changing environment. The older generation of MMO players, the ones that were willing to spend hours and hours and hours sitting in front of a game, grinding and leveling and doing quests and getting gear and all that, they're gone. Modern kids, I mean, they've either grown up and got families, or they're dead, or whatever. They're not getting any younger. And they just don't have time, jobs, and so who's that leave you with? A bunch of attention deficit disorder kids. Yeah, it is social justice. Ain't she a peach? Her arms are bound by the chains of the patriarchy. I did see it. it's an interesting concept. Uh, there, it has nothing to do with the game. It has everything to do with the company putting it out. I cannot stand Amazon. Cannot freaking stand them. For the same reason I don't like Walmart. And I don't necessarily... I don't even like using Twitch, to be honest with you, because it's an Amazon product. But you're kind of stuck with that. And that's unfortunate. But, you know, it looks like an interesting game. I can see what they're trying to do. We'll see how they pull it off. Withholding judgment until I've seen more of it. I've seen like actual Pantheon gameplay, so I have a much better idea of what it is that they're striving to achieve. And I've actually played Ashes, at least in an early iteration. I know it's changed significantly since I announced it. Oh, I know. They've lost their way. And that's what's so refreshing about Cyberpunk 2077. It's being made by a game developer that actually understands what it means to make games for gamers. It understands that. And that's why I get so irritated when, you know, these people try to steal that away from us. Because we've waited so long. How many games have come out in the last several years by these AAA developers that have just been god-awful? Not finished, or just poorly optimized, or just absolute crap to play. So many of them, and we've fallen victim to it time and time again. You'd think we'd learn. But we don't. We continue giving them our money. But now, here comes CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk. It's being made very closely in conjunction with Poundstone. What's his name? Mike Poundstone, is that his name? What the hell's his name? The guy who made the tabletop RPG. Poundsmith. I'm drawing a blank right now. Forgive me. I'm thinking they're testing the waters with this. I think with the Cyberpunk thing, they're kind of testing the waters, see how the reaction is, and if it's successful, I think you're going to see a lot more. That's just my, you know, I'm basing that on absolutely nothing. No insider info or anything like that. It's just a hunch, you know. What would I do? And if the franchise ends up being successful, I think you're going to see a lot more of it. Possibly a movie. Possibly some kind of MMO. It's perfect for an MMO. I mean, it's a role-playing game already, so the system's already there. The materials are already there. Christ, that's one of my favorite, all-time favorite tabletop. Excuse me. Still dealing with this cold. Yeah, but you know, as far as tabletop RPGs go, it's a toss-up between Cyberpunk 2020 and Legend of the Five Rings. But I'd definitely have to give the edge to 2020 just for style points. Such an interesting world, and such a prophetic world too. That's the scary part about it. How much of the stuff you go back in the old 2020 core rulebooks, the Hort play style. Hey, I appreciate the fact that you're there, but please go away. I like being part of the community. I just don't want to do anything with the community. You know what I mean? Well, you know what I mean. You've seen me play enough now. It's the private servers did that to me. The private servers, I used to take games a heck of a lot more seriously. Back in the Asheron's Call days, I would think nothing of sitting in front of the computer for 16 hours a day. Back when that was still hopping. To a lesser extent, EverQuest. Spent a fair number of hours on that. Anarchy Online for a while. Well, City Heroes for a while. For a good while. And then I found private servers. It started with World of Warcraft. Some of the Russian servers and whatnot. And then there's, the P99, the EQAMU network, and all their servers, and various game servers for, Warhammer and whatever, Star Wars. And it really just got me out of the habit of caring that much about my characters. It stopped being a role-playing game and just started being a video game. And that was okay. I could enjoy the content. I could enjoy the work that was put into it. And that's kind of the approach I took. I just want to see what the developers were doing. Don't necessarily want to play the game and grind out all the gear and everything. I just want to see how it was all put together. What design choices they made. And a lot of that's due to, just always having family and other things to do. So, you play the game you can. What were we talking about? Then I see the likes of Anita Sarkeesian weighing in on the whole cyberpunk thing. And that bitch just needs to get hit by a bus. No, I'm not wishing death on her. But I'm not going to cry at her funeral. Just doing things and causing trouble just for the sake of causing trouble, just to cash in on it, honestly. Because that's the first thing she tried to do, was cash in on it. And that's what a lot of these people are doing. The magazine or the online magazines and whatnot, gaming rags, because none of them give reliable coverage of games anymore. None of them do. Kotaku and the other ones. I don't even know. It's been so long since I've used any of them. Don't even remember what they're called. Even CNET's getting really bad. But they don't even care about gaming or games or any of that stuff. They just want to sell clicks. And that's it. I mean, she wants to sell her consulting service, to make game companies more tolerant. Like she's doing it for some grand gesture. Then do it for free. If you really care that much, do it for free. Do it because you feel it's your civic duty. Don't do it because you're cashing in on it. And it's just so freaking obvious anymore. They're not even trying to hide it. You catch some of them bragging about it. And then CD Projekt Red comes along and gives us Cyberpunk. And they give us the attitude of a game company. A company that makes games for gamers. The gamers are going to enjoy. Because they understand that if you make a good game, people are going to buy it. And they're going to tell their friends to buy it. And their friends are going to tell their friends to buy it. And yeah, that's fact. Well, EA brought her in for some consultation. And Activision, I guess, fired her for whatever because she was throwing a major hissy fit in their boardroom. But some companies actually hired her as a consultant to make their games more socially tolerant, socially acceptable. That's how you end up with gay Soldier 76s and Reapers from Overwatch and that kind of shit. Listening to idiots like her. But you see how well it's treating them. They've completely destroyed any degree of credibility they may have had. Activision, and they're taking Blizzard right down with them, although Blizzard's not doing themselves any favors. EA, God, how long have we been making jokes about EA and how bad it is, and yet we still keep buying their crap. I understand, these guys put out the occasional good game, but most of the big titles that they put out are just either rubbish or boring rehashes of stuff that they've already done. Just with a new skin. Slightly upgraded engine. Yeah. Soldier 76 was always my fallback DPS character. And I don't even want to play him now. Not that I hate gays or anything. I just hate what he's come to represent now, and what they did to it. And Christ, they should have made Lucio gay. If they want to make any of them gay, because at least that one you could understand. We knob gobble. Oh man. You should join the Discord for this server. I think you'd have a lot of fun. I can only take so much of that crap. Because the Cox G server, it's self-moderated. Everybody's required to moderate yourself. If you don't like somebody, you block them. That's it, simple. Don't call for a GM because there ain't none coming. And it's worked. It's worked very well for the most part. But you always get those ones. They get the freedom part of it, the freedom to express yourself in any way, shape, and form, with no recrimination. They get that part, but they don't get the part, your social responsibility. The responsibility that goes along with the freedom. That's the part that always throws them for a loop. So the edge takes over. And it gets tiresome. So you have to step away for a little while. But whenever there's drama going on with the servers, it's always fun to go in there and get involved in it. You get all keyed up, you get all pissed off. Fucking homecoming faggots. That kind of thing. And that's always fun. It's always fun to get riled up with the mob. And it's harmless for the most part. The game that I wish somebody would get their hands on the code for was another NCSoft game called... now this is Cryptic Studios. Cryptic Studios made this and then sold it to NCSoft. So, a lot of people forget Cryptic Studios' part in this, and that was developing the game. NCSoft just ended up being the owners of it. But they had a game called X-Steel, and I've talked about it before. And if you ever get a chance, look up some of the gameplay footage on YouTube, because there's quite a bit up there. Man, that was such a good game. Such a good game. And it would be perfect for now. I think the biggest problem with that game was it came out too early. The world wasn't... we were still doing MMOs back then. And, the Counter-Strike stuff and the... kill each other stuff was still kind of a niche. It was more nichey than it is now, at least. But man, fighting robots, flying across the battlefield, shooting the hell out of each other, whacking each other with swords, and Oh, it was just so much fun. So much fun. You could play any kind of mech you wanted. They weren't called mechs. I forget what they called them. Such a fun game. A good hop in, play a few rounds, hop out kind of thing. Oh. Using a backup drive. And if it sits idle for too long, it has to spin back up again. Okay, that one's done. Next, we'll do Gray Knigget next. I don't know if I'm going to do the Lawman or not. His legs are cropped off. Might be able to use them like the bottom of the image or something. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll do this one next. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a coffee. And then we'll continue with this nonsense. Alright, I'm back. I had an idea for a game. I mentioned it not too long ago. It's gameplay similar to Overwatch or something like that, where you have one team fighting against another team. But instead of, like Overwatch where you queue up, you'd have like some roughly donut-shaped world. This is just, I don't know, I was laying in bed thinking about this and it seemed like a good idea. And in here would be like 2 or 3 different arenas, for like 5-on-5, 10-on-10, and then some big scale battle thing, whatever. Then outside there you have like an NPC to queue you up. You'd have to actually talk to an NPC to queue you up. And then around the outside you could have like vendors and whatnot. Or whatever. The world is negotiable. But there has to be a world. And then when you're in the game playing, you're playing in the first person like you normally would. But when you're out here, it pans back to third person, and that's where your fashion contests come in. Because you know how it is when you're playing a game, and you acquire really cool looking stuff, and you want everybody to see it, so you go to the very public areas. Well, here you got this entire outer area, with vendors along the edge or whatever, and the players actually in the game waiting to. They'll go up and queue up for a match, and then while they're waiting, they'll be out here socializing with the other people. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of these games right now is that lack of socialization. And then, cause then you could show off all your shiny new things, and you could get together with your clan, and you could go marching around being all impressive and whatnot. Or you could be the lowly noob hiding behind the vendor because you don't want anybody to see your crappy armor or whatever. Bring that social aspect back to it. And I think that's going to be that would be a good bridge gapper between the MMO thing and the current generation of battle royale games and quick play games. It gives them a reason to stay in the game, other than just a little chat window down in the corner, like they have. Instead of chatting in the chat window, you're actually walking around talking to people. You make the audio so that it's within 10 feet of your character. You could use voice or you could use text. I don't know, whatever. Just a rough idea. $1 million idea, though. Please feel free to pass that on to somebody. It'd be a good idea for the next Overwatch game, because they've already announced there's going to be an Overwatch 2. And they want to add more PvE elements to it. Well, just add more community elements to it. You don't necessarily have to make it PvE. Just remember that you have actual people playing your game, and this is Grey Knigget. I remade him with something else. I don't know. Maybe I just remade him with Battle Mace on a different server. Changed the armor up a little bit. Fun character, but he burns through stamina so fast. So freaking fast. I haven't worked that out yet, so he's kind of on the shelf. It's a War Mace primary and Shield secondary. And on top of having that, have an actual character creator, so that every single character is different. Like City of Heroes, they can borrow a lot from the character creator on this. No game that I've seen yet has anything even close to what City of Heroes offers. Now there may be some out there, I don't know, but I haven't seen them. I picked shield because it's one of the few that actually gives you defense against psionic attacks. It doesn't actually make you more resistant to them, it just allows you to avoid them altogether. Psionic's always a tough one to find defenses for. Yeah, dark does. But for the most part, what the hell? Alright, I gotta adjust that. Remind me to adjust that. I'm working on a splash screen for City Heroes. I've been streaming so much City Heroes, but I've been using the old EverQuest splash screen. So, I want to make a City Heroes one. Something more than just a generic City Heroes logo. I didn't feel like playing anything. And this is what I planned on doing tonight, so I figured I'd just fire up the stream and make you sit through it. I'm just cropping out the various elements that I want to use in the final thing. Just different characters that I made. Oh, let's keep some of that glow in there. I'm using GIMP. I'm just using GIMP. Oh, the tool. It's just the point select tool. I'm just making a frame around the thing, and then I'm going to crop out all the background. Oh, yeah, okay. Wasn't sure. Yeah, GIMP is fine for... It's, it doesn't do vector graphics. So, when you start heavily modifying things, like if I were to, like, crop that guy's arm out to rotate it, you know, into a different position or whatever, the image quality starts to degrade really quick. So you have to take it to another tool to do that, or to another piece of software to do that, and then bring it back into GIMP to assemble the pieces. And that's kind of defeating the purpose. Photoshop's much better at it, because it has vector graphics. But, yeah. For my purposes, this is fine. I don't do a lot of editing. And it's free. Can't beat the price. Harkens back to my old Linux days. When I was bound and determined to never use Windows again. There's actually a lot of really good open source software available if you ever decide to take that plunge. All of it's just a step below, you know, like studio quality or whatever. But for the average Joe, it's more than enough, and a lot of it's actually really good. A lot of it's actually better than some of the paid software that's available. I know a lot of their video editing software is just top notch. It's used by major production studios and whatnot. And it's free. I mean, you can't beat the price. Something I keep thinking about going back to. I think once this installation of Windows 10 I currently have craps out on me, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Excuse me. There. Now it's on a transparency. We'll just go back in and clean it up a little bit. Thompson, what's going on? Working on a splash screen for City Heroes. Didn't feel like playing anything tonight. Favorite? I don't know. I like the costumes enough to have taken screenshots of them. So whether or not the characters are worth playing is, you know, up for debate. But I like the costume choices. Just going to assemble them onto a background and the whole City Heroes thing. I love doing this. This is my favorite part. I could do this shit for hours. I love doing cleanup. I figured since this was what I planned on doing tonight, I'd make everybody suffer along with me. I'm just getting a bunch of the character images transparency for them so they can be pasted onto a background. I like it. I like it. For my purposes, I like it. Piss off. Not going to dispute the fact that Photoshop is better, but they also have a better budget. for a bunch of volunteers getting together and putting together an image editing software. I'll take it. I like it. It does what I need it to do. I don't feel like learning anything else. I've been using this so long. Some green in there. Oh man, I trimmed off that shoulder. Yeah, there's probably easier ways to do this on here. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just kind of figure it out as I go. It's been a constant learning process for me. So there very well could be much easier ways to do this. I don't know what they are. Didn't want that nasty green glow up there, but I did want the glow up there. Come on, get up there. Oh, you did? Okay, good. Yeah, anytime you want to hop in there, just let me know during the day, or whatever, if you're around. We'll get you all sorted. I guess yeah, we're doing that this weekend. I better get on it. I'm all ready to go though. No, you have to make your own. Nope, that's something you have to do on your own. I'll walk you through the process and get your character sheet all set up, because you need one of their character sheets. You'll make it right there on the site, and I don't know how far you got through the player's handbook, but yeah, it's not too bad. Depending on what you choose. Any idea what you want to play? Rogue Dwarf? Yeah, you can make anything you want. 3.5, they loosened some of the restrictions on race class combinations. In advanced D&D, dwarves couldn't be wizards. Because they just weren't of a magical nature. But they loosened up classes and whatnot in 3.5. Class race combinations. Well, I'd be glad you don't have to learn Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Jesus Christ. Talk about a counterintuitive gaming system. I liked it. It was fun, but that's what I grew up on. But like for some numbers, you'd have to roll higher. For other numbers, you'd have to roll lower, and you'd use random dice. You know, like a 10-sider for this and a 6-sider for that. And then with the D20 system, it's all based on 20-sided die rolls now, except for your damage. You know, your damage is still a different die type usually. Miss Thaco? Yes, I do. I do. It was always fun saying Thaco. What's a Thaco? And you'd make a chart for Thaco, just for quick, easy reference, so you wouldn't have to do the math all the time. You just make a chart right on your character sheet. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there was a lot of that. Now, Thompson, you'd get a kick out of that, the math part of it. I mean, it wasn't anything complex math, but I fucking trimmed that shoulder blade off, and you were supposed to remind me not to trim that shoulder blade off. I tend to use the software the same way I would if I was actually drawing the picture by hand, you know, with all the blending and whatnot. I don't know if any of it's right. I just know I like it and it works for me. That's all I care about. Having played all of them, though, from way back in, you know, the late 70s all the way up till, you know, 5.0, I do have to say, though, 3.5 is my favorite version. Ah, it just looks bad. Yeah, that's the biggest difference. 5.0 is just 3.5 simplified. And Pathfinder's just 3.5, really. This time I'm just using a pre-made one, but that's just it's just a launching point. Once the game gets rolling, it's going to be a lot of handcrafted content. And a lot of that's going to depend on what you guys decide to do too. So I can't really get anything planned too far in advance because who knows where you guys are going to take it. Yeah, that's true. I never really did a lot with Pathfinder. Never saw the point. Got every single freaking 3.5 book that ever came out. I have it on PDF. So I never saw the reason to even bother with Pathfinder when I could just pull out the 3.5 books. Not that I really play too much anymore. There's actually I have it. 3.5 rules with it in the EverQuest setting. There's another one for Asheron's Call. Cyberpunk went D20 for a while. Nice thing about the D20 system is it can be used in any genre, and that was kind of the big selling point. There was a Call of Cthulhu D20 version. Star Wars D20 was really popular. The system is easily transferable to a variety of, Wild West setting. Deadlands. God, Deadlands was a fun game. I forgot all about that game. But the original system sucked in Deadlands because it involved poker chips and playing cards. They tried too hard to get thematic, and just didn't work. Made the system really clunky. But then they did a D20 version that was much better. Legend of the Five Rings went D20. Although their system didn't really require it. Excuse me, I'm dying here. Was it White Wolf went D20? Everybody did. Everybody did. Because it was an open license. You could do anything you want as long as you paid tribute. Oh, that bothers me. Crop that shoulder off. This shoulder's supposed to be as high as this one. And I chopped through the piece because it blended into the background a little bit. Alright. What's next? Do we have any? Yeah, we'll go ahead and do Lawman. I think that's the last one I have. Oh, God, no, I don't want to use that. Look at that horrible hand. Yeah, no, I'm not going to use that one. It's hideous. Alright, now I need... Already got that transparent. Oh, I don't know. Count Horcula. Forgot about this guy. Dark something or other. I have no idea what. That guy's cool looking, but you can't see him. It's bad picture, bad background. Wait, do I have another one? Oh, I have another one. Well, let's see if this one's any better. No, it's still got that goofy hand. What's the deal with that? The hover hand. Yeah, well, we'll use it. Alright, first I'm going to grab a coffee. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Oh, that's just horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I guess there's a Hawken private server up. They took the PC version of the game down. It's still available on PlayStation, I believe. But they took that server down. That was another fun game that I just never got to play enough of. It's kind of the game place I find myself in gaming-wise right now, is those games where you can hop in, get a few games in, hop back out. That's why none of my characters in City Heroes are of any significant level. 24, I think, is my highest, or 25. We'll just shrink this guy down. Maybe his hand won't be as noticeable. God, that's embarrassing. How could you let something like that out? Of course, they probably had the grip designed for the semi-automatic pistols. I forget what they are. And then the Colt Navies were a later add-on or something. I don't know. Didn't they have a pay shop when they went free to play? A cash shop. I wasn't there for the free to play phase. Yeah, City Heroes. Sorry, I'm bouncing around a bit, I guess. Having conversations in my head and I forget you can't hear that. Where the hell did I start at? Way up there. Holy shit. Alright, let's tighten this up a little bit. you ever watch ForgottenWeapons.com? He has a YouTube channel. Does a lot of obscure and older military firearms. History and breakdown and whatnot. Pretty neat channel. The guy's a little squirrely, but in a good way. Ian. His name's Ian. He was also one of the few to sign up on Full30.com. It's a video site like YouTube, but they only do guns. Whereas YouTube's trying to get all the guns off their platform, Full30 only does guns. And a lot of the bigger YouTube channels have a representation there, at least, even if they don't get really active on the platform. What the hell's going on down here? It's really just an excuse to get the software out and piddle with it a little bit. I think we're done. All right. That's that. I'm using a black background, so I don't want a lot of Havoc. What's going on? Don't want a lot of white outlines. You did? Yeah. It happens. It happens. And it'll stick with you for as long as you keep playing it. But the minute you walk away from it. Good, good. I'm glad you're having fun with it. I'm glad they're doing something to make people want to have fun with it again. I bust Blizzard's chops a lot, but really all I want them to do is get a game, or to make their games playable and fun. That's all. I don't want them to fail, I just want them to do it right. Oh, good. Yeah, yeah. Well, we all knew that was going to be a big draw. I wish they were able to do more of an actual classic server. But just the fact that they're willing to take the measure, because it was something they were really opposed to. They did not want to do a classic server. They're vehemently opposed to it, and justifiably so. Graham, what's going on? The biggest circus ever seen. This election is already determined. There's not a single person the Democrats can put up. It's going to be a joke. I mean, there's going to be snark all over the place, but it's already a foregone conclusion, because the Democrats don't have anybody they can put up that will even remotely come close to giving Trump a run for his money. And they can't even agree on somebody. Because the Democrat Party is so fractured right now. There's so many ideologies vying for attention, and the corporate Democrats, the extreme progressives, the socialists, they're all under the same Democrat banner, and they all have a different candidate in mind. Some are very behind Elizabeth Warren. Some are the more traditional ones want Joe Biden in. Why, I have no idea. The loop-de-loos, they got their mind set on Bernie, despite the fact that he's damn near 80 years old. Then there's some fringe Kamala Harris supporters and whatnot. Beto made some noise, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think the best one is going to be Biden versus Trump. And primarily because Biden's just too fucking stupid. It's going to be gaffes. Nothing but gaffes on Biden's part throughout the entire election. He's going to be molesting people on the entire election campaign trail. He can't keep his hands to himself. And he's creepy as hell. Why they would want him, after all the Bill Clinton crap, why they'd want to risk doing that again. Yeah, the debates are going to be a hoot. That's for damn sure. Debates are going to be something worth watching. That's going to be good viewing. I just heard about some potential election fraud going on over there. That by-election they just had. God, I forget what region it is, but they had some guy campaigning for Labor who had served time for voter fraud, for election fraud. And then the Labor Party went and had him, campaigning for them and blanketing for them, and there's some question or some concerns about hostile actors at the polling centers. What the hell's going on with this collar over here? Kind of get the feeling I should take all that out. I mean, our elections have become a joke anymore, but I don't know, it kind of disturbed me more reading about it coming from your side of the pond than it would be from, because here we have it every time. Florida. There's always some kind of crap going on in Florida involving election fraud or whatever. Usually in Wasserman Schultz district. But you don't hear about it too much over there. So it was kind of disconcerting to hear that that's starting to happen. None of my heroes look like superheroes. I don't like that. You can see his aura, and it bothers me. Oh, that guy kind of looks like a superhero. This isn't going to be anything fancy. It's just a splash screen, thumbnail kind of thing. Yeah, too much dancing on tables. Isn't that the guy that was doing that? She's too mean. Too mean. Too spiteful. Too always looking for a fight. And a lot of people just don't know who she is. Yeah, Warren's going to be fun. He's going to eat her alive. If she runs, she's just doomed. That's just going to be hilarious. I'll put the logo up here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Odd number, of course. You go over there. You go over there. to rescale some of these. Yeah, Bernie's just stupid. The thing with Bernie that a lot of people don't realize, especially his supporters, is he has no real practical, real life experience. None. He's had one job in his entire life that was outside of government work, and that was like a very, very brief stint as a carpenter. And according to his employer, he was horrible at it. Everything else that he's done has been government related. Mayor of a town, you know, some kind of civil servant of some sort. Stuff where you're not really required to produce anything. You're not really accountable for much of anything. And so when he's talking about economic issues, he really has no foundation. To speak from, because he's never experienced it. He probably doesn't even balance his own checkbook. And you can't have somebody like that making economic decisions for an entire nation. You just can't. And you definitely can't have somebody like that sitting in the White House. You definitely can't. That's just a nightmare waiting to happen. Now, the Dems don't have a chance in this election. It's almost a guaranteed re-election for Trump. Like him or hate him, you know. And that's not me being, you know, yo Trump. You know, it's nothing like that. It's just the way it is. What is this? 1920. What's half of 1920? 850. 950. See all that white? See, that's what I was trying to avoid, all that white that's around each one of them. Yeah, Biden's the only one who's going to get the core corporate Democrat push. Elizabeth Warren to a lesser extent, but you don't have to be a genius to realize that she's just not electable. She did herself in. She got no one to blame but herself for that. Biden's really all they got. And they're running out of time. They got to get somebody nominated. They got to choose their candidate, you know, no matter what the primaries say. I'm going to go in and do some more cleanup. I'm just placing everything. Come on, why the hell is it flipping the whole thing? False, yeah. The lies. The rampant lies. Oh, they're going to have a field day with it this time. They're just going to make it all up. Why can't I not? It's a weight issue. Alright, I'll be back in just a minute. Gonna go grab a coffee, and then we'll do a little cleanup, merge this all together, and call it a day. And it certainly does seem that way, doesn't it? let me do that, is it? Well, you son of a whore. Starting to act a little weird, so I figured I should save. Something I always forget to do when I'm using this. Nope. Oh, where the hell is she? There it is. Servers just happened to come along at a time when I was looking for a game that didn't require a huge time involvement, but still had, you know, a certain amount of MMO-ness to it, if that makes sense. Let's try this. I just want to see what happens. No. No, I ain't gonna do it. It is. It is. I think it probably would have done better if Cryptic Studios had had the means of just running it themselves, but they needed no, that I'll never play WoW again. I can guarantee you that right now. Not that I have anything against the game, nothing like that. It's just it's not something I have ever had an interest in doing ever again. Outside of the private servers, and even then, that wore thin pretty quick. WoW's a game where you have to put in the time. And I just don't have the time to put in. It's nothing against the game. I don't want to do it. I have no interest in doing it. I still watch videos about it. You know, I'll like watch Preach Gaming. Most of my gaming time is when I stream. The only gaming that I really do when I'm not streaming, unless I got an itch. Like when these servers first came up, I was playing all the time. You know, otherwise, you know, during the day, if I do play anything, it'll be something that I can just hop into and out of real quick. You know, Overwatch or Black Squad or something along those lines. Paladins, you know, something along those lines. I have to be able to get up and walk away from it at a moment's notice, you know. kind of the issue I find myself in. A lot of the games I've streamed in the past are games that require a fairly significant time commitment. You know, the P99 prime example. Yeah, but you never really get anywhere when you do it that way. WoW's all about endgame now, and then that's fine. That's fine. People seem to still enjoy it. People seem to think it's still worth doing. And more power to them. I don't begrudge them that opportunity. But the pre-max level WoW game is really only there to get you to max level, and that's it. Because the whole game's geared to end game. And that's not a dig, that's just an observation. I'm trying to be too careful with this, and I really just don't need to be. Ouch. I like doing this though. It's fun. It's relaxing for me. But no, WoW and I have parted ways, and that's okay. It was a game I never wanted to play in the first place. A lot of the MMOs that were around right before WoW came out took a really huge hit when WoW went live. Everybody jumped ship to check out this new game from Blizzard, and never saw them again. I resisted that, resisted it. Did not want to do it. Did not want to take that plunge. And I had fun with it when I played. Not going to deny that. It's hard not to. Yeah, looks like shit. I'm sure there's a better way to do that. I just don't care enough. There is. There's a very definite argument to be made for that, but it is what it is. Is it WoW's fault, or is it just the general nature of modern gamers? Is it WoW just reacting to the market, or is it WoW creating the market? That's the question. And I tend to think it's more of Blizzard just responding to the market. I mean, because let's face it, kids just don't have the attention span. And that's, the primary audience. So they're the only ones that have time for it. So they're the ones that they're going to cater to. The kids with mom and dad's credit card. That's just business. It's not not a dig or a judgment call on Blizzard or anything. It's just, you know, they have to pay their employees, and if you know, a bunch of crotchety old gamers aren't playing their product, they have to cater to who is playing their product, and you know, unfortunately, for the most part, that's a much younger audience than what EverQuest had to contend with. And I just use EverQuest as an example. You could apply that to any of the older MMOs. The pre-WoW MMOs, I mean. I'm just curious to see if this will work. I don't like it. Yeah, well, somebody would have come along and toppled EverQuest, because EverQuest was the big dog prior to WoW. It had the biggest numbers, and they were nowhere near what WoW hit. Holy crap! WoW at its peak, 11 million, 12 million, something like that. I forget what they peaked at for active accounts, but it was huge. I mean, it was an order of magnitude higher than, you know, anything EverQuest could have ever hoped to achieve. I think EverQuest may have peaked at 1 million. May have. Now, Blizzard hit all the buttons with WoW. Well, it's still profitable for them, obviously. They still have enough people willing to pay $15 a month to play it. They still have enough people willing to dump money on top of that into their cash shop. They'd be stupid to take it down. They can use that money to fund other projects, which they're doing. You know, there's another Overwatch in the makings. There's another Diablo in the works. They just what they need to do right now is get the hell away from Activision. Activision's going to end up burying them. And they need to be much more careful with how they start treating their user base. That's another thing that they really need to just get on top of. They've been doing a lot of really spitting in the eye of the people who've made them what they are. What, you don't have a cell phone? You know, for the Diablo Immortal crap. But that's an administration thing. That's not a game thing. Yeah. Yeah, that was just what made him think that would be a good idea. You know, and I don't want to sound like one of the perpetually offended or anything like that, but that was just a dick move on his part. People don't want Diablo on their damn phones; they want it on their computers. Did you test market that at all? Did you do any freaking polling to see if that's something that people actually wanted? And I think that's the biggest problem. Well, the problem's obvious. The problem is they're making games for their shareholders, not for their customer base. Yeah. You know, you take your company public and then all of a sudden you lose all control of it, and you're answering to a board of directors that has never played a video game in their life, but they happen to be holding all the money and all the cards. So you got to make them happy. And really all you want to do is just make a good game like CD Projekt Red's doing. But you're being hamstrung every step of the way by the board of directors, who doesn't know a goddamn thing about gaming. Yeah. They've more than proven that with their treatment of the Destiny 2 franchise. That could have been a goldmine for them. It's such a good game. It's so well made. Bungie knows how to assemble a good quality game. It plays well. It plays fun. The gameplay is fun. All you need is content. And there was a lot of potential for Destiny 2 to just really be a big moneymaker for them if they just stuck with it and treated it like an MMO instead of treating it like a first-person shooter. Because it is an MMO, regardless of the interface. But it's an MMO that you never socialize in. Yeah, and it's very close to it. It feels a lot like you know, some of the newer Halo titles, you know, like Reach and whatnot. It plays very much like that. There's a nice flow to the gameplay. It's responsive. It just feels good when you're playing it. It feels satisfying. It just gets so repetitive. And to be fair, Bungie doesn't have a lot of experience with online gaming. They probably would have much rather turned Destiny into a single-player game, you know, with the campaign mode and maybe some online PvP stuff, and that's about it. And maybe they should have taken it that way. You know, like what they did with Halo. It's another one that I've been getting a Jones to play again. Zeus, my man, what's going on? Thank you, sir. When are you firing your servers up? You have to now. You're the only one left. It's in your contract. When you find time. Working on a splash screen for City Heroes. Since I've been streaming it so much, I figure I might as well get one together. So all my old video streams from this are like EverQuest thumbnails. It's just a mess. I've gotten so lazy. Off and on, yeah. We're talking about the 2020 elections and the sitcom that it's going to be. Democrats don't really have anybody viable that they can field, so they're just flinging shit at a dartboard and hoping that something sticks. That guy doesn't really need all that much. Talking a lot about games and gaming and the usual. His heels are problematic. I will just pretend he's gay. If we can do it to Soldier 76, we can do it to this guy. I don't even know if I have this guy, though. I think he was on the test server. There's just this weird curve thing going on. That guy shouldn't really have to touch. This guy needs some. Remember when the Democrat Party used to be the party of the working people? The blue-collar party? And the Republicans were the party of the elite, the bankers and the investors and the rich folk. That's what the Republicans were. And now, for some reason, the Republicans are the party of the working class. And Democrats are all over the board. They've switched from blue collar to white collar. Or no collar at all. You know, you're an accepted member of the Democratic Party if you're either a wealthy corporatist or a welfare recipient. But if you have a job, they don't want anything to do with you, as long as you pay your taxes. grandmother and her adopted grandmother, actually just some little old lady that lived next door, and her husband were very staunch Democrats back in the day. This is, the Carter years and earlier. He was an engineer on trains, not a driver. He would fix the trains. An actual engineer, not just a train driver. And well, she was a housewife, but she was very politically involved. And that's kind of what turned me on to the Democrat Party, and it appealed to me back then. This is the party of common folk like me and my family. And then they just kind of got weird. They are the best folk. Well, they're the backbone. They're the backbone of society. They're the ones that make everything. Common folk make rich folk rich folk. They're kind of dependent on them. Doesn't matter how many banks you own. If you don't have anybody generating revenue, your banks are going to sit empty. Yeah, well, that's where all your manufacturing is. That's where all your service industry is. That's where all your school teachers are. Your barber. Bob, who works down at the plant. Danny Maple, who works in a foundry. Common folk. Building the things that society needs to function. Or producing the materials that society needs to function, like farmers. Cattlemen. Without them, it all grinds to a halt. You don't have somebody manufacturing food and manufacturing products. You don't have products or food. So it doesn't matter, how many. Like I said, it doesn't matter how many banks you own. If there's nobody generating anything to fill those banks with money, you're no better off. It's kind of the spot where we find ourselves in. So many people are becoming so dependent on the government for everything. Healthcare was the last straw. Once we lost control of that, it was all over. It's just a major chunk of the economy to be thrown into the hands of the government. Somebody who has no concept of efficiently running a business, competently running a business, or running a business. And so many members of Congress are from professions that never really produce anything, like lawyers. There's a lot of lawyers in Congress. As much as I like Trey Gowdy, he's just a lawyer. He's not used to providing a product or a service other than legal help. But you don't. Law just takes away from. It doesn't add to. It's the nature of law. In order to have a law, you have to take something away from somebody. A right, a privilege, a freedom. Some, a lot of times it's necessary. Sometimes it's just silly. That's who I'd like to see in the White House, Trey Gowdy. I don't have a problem with jobs that don't provide anything. They're necessary. But you can't base an economy on it. An economy has to be based on a thing. Manufacturing. Now, part of that is going to be you're going to need people from the service industries to provide services, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the truth of the matter is, they don't generate anything. They don't. There's nothing there. It's just trading tokens for service. It's not trading tokens for tokens. Like for a farmer, you're trading food for cash. I don't know. Oh, excuse me. Impact. Too many fonts, holy crap. Now I'm just assembling the pieces of the puzzle. Looks like shit, doesn't it? Well, it's merging. It's just meant to be a thumbnail. This is problematic. There we go. Should reverse these two. Ah, well, screw it. I'm done. I'm tired. And boom. Nah, it looks like crap. I wasn't going for a masterpiece. But that's it. Alright, I'm going to wrap up there. Holy shit, it's after 2. Back on tomorrow night. Probably going to be playing tomorrow night, so until then, have a good evening, and hope your week goes well.